Hey guys, thanks for joining this episode of Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance.
And I'm Amanda.
And today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new game by Smirk and Dagger Games. This is Tower of Madness. This is a 3 to 5 player game that takes roughly half an hour to an hour to play. And it is a competitive game, so each player is going to be working against the other players to accumulate the most points to be the overall winner at the end of the game. So in the game itself, each player is going to be playing an investigator, and during their turn, they're going to be rolling a set of dice that they're trying to lock certain symbols on. If they're able to lock the symbols that they need, then their discovery total will be totaled up, and the player that has the highest total at the end of the round will be the overall winner of that round, and will get the location card. At the end of a number of rounds based on the number of players, the player that has the most points based on their locations will be the overall winner of the game. So let's go into our opinions of this. So Amanda, what do you think about this game?
I like the game a lot. I think it's a very solid game. I especially like the fact that it's like a throwback to the old Kerplunk game, except for it's much more, there's a lot more depth to it, so adults can enjoy it just as much as children and kids can. So I especially appreciate that fact, and I really love the artwork, and I especially like the fact that it has a Cthulhu-like theme, which I think is a lot of fun. So I think it's just a really good game for friends and family all to play together, and I just like the game a lot.
I would agree. I love the artwork on this one, of course, and with it being a Smirk and Dagger game, as you've come to expect, there's going to be that backstabbing, which they have spell cards in this one that will cause all kinds of mayhem. Players will gather madness marbles, and if you get a certain number of them, you'll go insane, which will change the way and dynamic of how you play the game. Obviously, at that point, you're mad, so you're trying to cause the game to fail, and if you're the one that causes the game to fail, then you will be the overall winner as Cthulhu is brought into the world, and you rejoice before you're devoured. So really, really cool theme to the game. Definitely would recommend this one, especially if you're into Smirk and Dagger games, or you like backstabbing games, or you're into the Cthulhu theme. This is definitely one I would recommend to check out if you guys get a chance. And of course, these are just our opinions. I'd love to hear your guys as well. Let me know in the comments below if you guys enjoyed this game, if you've played it, if you're looking at picking this one up. I'd love to start a conversation with you guys. So let me know in those comments below what you guys think. So of course, if you guys enjoy these videos, if you like what I do, please consider that like button, subscribing to my channel, as it will help me to continue to grow and bring these great games and these videos to you guys. So let's go ahead and head to the table, and we'll teach you guys how to play.
Let's go.
There's a custom set of 5 6-sided dice included in the game, and each of these die will have a different symbol on each side. So we have the gate, heart, and mind, yellow sign, elder oak sign, and the elder sign. And each player during their turn will use these dice to investigate a location. The first part of player setup is the players will collectively choose whether they want to use investigators without or with special abilities. If the players choose investigators without, then each player can choose which investigator they want. If they're playing with abilities, then they'll want to go ahead and randomly deal out one investigator to each player, as each of the abilities is different. Then we have the Unnatural Influence, which is just a quick reminder of whenever you roll a pair or more of 5s, you get to take a token. And I'll cover this more later. And if during the game a player goes insane, you'll simply flip over your investigator card to the insane side. Throughout the game, players are going to be investigating different locations. Each location is going to have the name of that location at the top, the number of discovery points it's worth at the end of the game to the player that has it, and then each of the locations is going to have special rules associated with it, except for the starting tile, which will be labeled as the start tile. Other than that, the different conditions or effects that each tile will have, there are 2 different types. We have types that are specific to certain combos or different dice rolls, and then there's other ones that will simply just affect each investigator during their turn in certain ways. Each spell card is split into a sane and insane half. A player can only use the half that matches their current status, and each spell is going to list when it can be played, and no player can play a second spell with an identical timing text. So for example, with this one, it says at the end of your turn, you can play this card. And like on this side, with the insane side, only on your turn, so you can play at any point in your turn. The first player to announce the intention earns the right to play the card. And in the event of a timing conflict, you're going to resolve clockwise, starting with the player whose turn it is. There are 5 different colored marbles included in Tower of Madness. The first one is the Lead Investigator marble, and the players will be using this one to mark the player that has the most points in the Lead Investigator. The other 4 marbles will be dropping out of the Tower of Madness throughout the game. The first 2, the blue and white marbles, are good marbles, with the blue being the discovery marbles, and each is going to be worth 3 discovery points towards winning the game. The white marbles are spell marbles, and each will allow the player to draw a spell card when they fall from the Tower of Madness. The other 2 marbles are bad marbles. The red marbles are madness marbles, and if a player gains 4 madness marbles, they will become insane. And the last is the green marble, which are the doom marbles. When the 3rd doom marble falls, Cthulhu rises and the game ends. Tower of Madness also includes 5 Unnatural Influence tokens. When an investigator rolls exactly 2 5s in a single throw of the dice, this is going to allow the player to take 1 of the available Unnatural Influence tokens from the pool. A player can claim more than 1 per round. Tokens can be used at any applicable points in a round, and each token can only be used once per round. And at the end of the round, all tokens are returned to the pool whether they are used or not, except for Imprison token, which can be kept a second round if it is unused. Each of these tokens is going to have a different effect in the turn, so I'm going to take you guys through each one and explain what they do. So the first one over here is Forbidden Knowledge. A player that selects this must use it immediately, and then that player can either steal a spell card at random from an insane player or moves a spell marble into their discovery marble track, counting it as 3 discovery points. I Am No Madman will give 1 of your madness marbles to a player with the least madness. If 2 or more are tied, you get to choose between them. And if you have this token at any time when you gain a 4th madness, you can redirect that marble instead of going insane. Imprison is you get to place a token next to your character, and you may cancel 1 spell played by any player or prevent 1 horror tentacle drawn by another player, not yourself. If not used, can be held an additional round. New findings. At the end of the round, just before a lead investigator other than you is awarded the location card, you may use this token, but only if your investigation was successful. You get to re-roll both discovery dice in an attempt to match or beat the leader. Lock 1 die, and you can re-roll the second. Note that this roll is still subject to any special rules of the current location. And the final one is One Last Chance. If you fail the investigation, you can re-roll any or all of the dice thrown in your last roll. Once each player has an investigator, they'll also receive a tracker board, which is going to help them during their turn and will keep track of all their different marbles that they get throughout the game. From there, then you'll select 1 player to be the starting player, and they'll receive the starting player token, and you can also give them the lead investigation marble they can place at the beginning of their track. Now, during a player's turn when they perform an investigation, they're going to need to lock a gate, heart, and mind. If they're successful in that, then their other 2 dice will be totaled up, and that total will be marked on their lead with their lead investigator marble. Now, during another player's turn, if they're able to beat the player that has a lead investigator marble's number or tie it, then they will receive that and mark the new number on there. Also, during players' turns, they will potentially get marbles that they'll place in the various tracks. So we have spell marbles, discovery marbles, and madness marbles. And again, if a player receives 4 madness marbles, then they will go insane and flip over their cards to the insane side. Also, each player is going to be dealt 2 spell cards at the beginning of the game. For board setup, the first thing you're going to do is place out the plastic tray in the middle of the table, and this is going to have a couple features on it. Obviously, it's going to collect the marbles as they drop, but it also has 3 spots where you're going to be placing your doom marbles as they fall, and if the 3rd doom marble is placed, the game is immediately over and the investigators will lose. From there, then you're going to go ahead and grab the clock tower, and this is going to have a big opening where the marbles are going to fall out, so you're going to line that up with this chute here so that the marbles will come out there. And then there's a couple other features on this. Obviously, it's magnetized, so it'll just click together. And then there's 2 different types of holes. You have the holes with the green outlines and the holes with no outline. So as we're setting up, you're going to be placing these tentacles through the one side, and then they'll come out on the other side with the non-green hole there. So the non-green hole will be where the tentacle will come out, and the green hole will be where the tentacle goes in. And you're going to do this along all the different points on the tower. Once you have all the tentacles in place, then you're going to pour the marbles into the top of the tower. From there, the next step is you're going to shake the tower, trying to filter the marbles in there. You'll do that until one of the marbles falls out of the bottom, and you're also going to want to make sure that you push in the tentacles from time to time because they will shake their way out. Once all the marbles are situated, then you can go ahead and place the top of the clock tower on there, and you're ready to move into the rest of the setup. The last part of setup is setting up the location deck. So first off, you're going to pull out the starting card, which is the clock tower. You're always going to start your game with that one as it's shown here. Then you can go ahead and shuffle up the location deck and draw out a number of locations based on the number of players. So as you guys can see on the chart here, I'm going to set up for a 3-player game. So we're going to draw 10 locations. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 9 locations from the deck, plus that one for our 10th one.
Tower of Madness is played over a set number of rounds based on the location's deck. Each round is broken into 4 steps. If the players can complete all the location cards before the 3 green Doom marble drops, the player with the most points wins, otherwise all players lose.
Each round is broken into 4 steps. The first step is to reveal a location card. So the first player, the player that has the first player token, will begin the round by flipping over the top card of the location deck and reading it out loud to all players. With this being the first round, the clock tower is always going to be the starting location, so we don't have to worry about flipping over location. And this particular one is worth 6 points this round. The second step in a round is the players' turns. Starting with the first player, the player has the first player token, and proceeding in clockwise order, each player will get to take their turn. During a player's turn, they're going to investigate a location by rolling the set of 5 dice. And what they're trying to do with those is they're trying to first off lock the investigation dice. They're going to need a gate, a heart, and a mind, which are the values 1, 2, and 3. Once they do this, then they're going to start working on their discovery dice, which can be any values, but they're trying to get the highest value possible. And you can lock any of these dice at any point during your turn, as you're going to see. On every roll of the dice, the player must lock at least 1 die, but they may lock as many as they choose. The player is going to keep rolling until they've locked all 5 dice, and when a die is locked, it is going to be placed in that player's tracker board and can no longer be rolled during that player's turn. So at this point, we've locked all 3 of the dice that we needed to successfully investigate the location. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And then from there, we have our discovery total. So we have a 4 and a 6 for a total of 10. So we're going to go ahead and move the yellow marble to the 10 value, and then it'll move to the next player's turn.
A player fails their turn and their investigation if they are unable to lock a gate, a heart, and a mind, and then therefore must draw a horror tentacle from the tower. Any marbles that fall as a result take immediate effect and are placed onto the player's dashboard according to the type. Doom marbles are placed on the tray wall immediately. Discovery marbles are worth 3 victory points each. White spell marbles allows the player to draw a spell card, and if at any time when a player gains the 4th red madness marble, they go insane.
Now that we've completed our turn with this player, we're ready to move on to the next player in clockwise order. So that player will pass the dice over to our next player to start their investigation. And again, we're going to go ahead and roll the dice. And we're trying to lock the 3 that we need. Now, during this, if we happen to roll a pair of 5s, and it has to be a natural pair of 5s, you can't have more than a pair, then you get to take one of the Unnatural Influence tokens and add it to your area that you can use at any point during the game. So let's say, for example, that we had rolled that. So we're going to go ahead and take this one here, one last chance, and maybe that'll help us out. So we did roll a gate, and we do have a heart. So then from there, we can continue rolling or continue locking dice. I'm going to go ahead and continue rolling. And so we have that. So I'll go ahead and lock a discovery die. And we got our mind. So we can either continue rolling from here or lock here. So that is a 10, so that will match the other player, so we will get to take the lead investigator marble, and our turn is over. So then we would pass on to the next player, and this is going to continue until the last player in the round has had a chance to take their turn. From there, the player that has the lead investigator marble will get to claim the clock tower or the location card for that round, this round being the clock tower. The third step of the round is awarding discovery points to the lead investigator for the round. So the player that has the lead investigator marble, the yellow marble, will end up getting the location for this round. And our fourth player over there was lucky enough to roll a pair of 6s for their discovery total, so they ended up with 12, the highest of any player. So they're going to get to claim the clock tower. And depending upon your playstyle, you can keep those locations hidden from other players, or you can keep them face up. It's totally up to you and how you want to play the game.
The fourth step of each round is that the first player token is moved in a clockwise fashion to the next player. At the end of each round, all unused or used unnatural influence tokens are taken and returned to the community pool, except for the imprisoned token, which can be kept for a second round if it is left unused.
There's a couple other important rules I want to cover real quick. So the first one is the Jostling Penalty. So if marbles fall due to bumping the table or tower, that was a hurricane. So if the offender is sane, then they're going to take any red marbles that fall, and doom marbles will count against the team. Then you're going to remove from the game any blue or white marbles that fall. Now, if the offender is insane, all falling marbles are removed from the game, including any doom marbles, nearly assuring that the sane players will win. The other important thing we need to go over is going insane. So when a player collects 4 or more madness marbles, they're going to go insane, which is a permanent condition, even if they're able to remove marbles later in the game. Now, an insane player is going to play a little bit differently. With insane players, they are no longer investigators, and they will no longer care about discovery points, and instead will attempt to raise Cthulhu. They're also going to use the insane half of spell cards now. Insane players are no longer going to roll dice to investigate a location, and cannot gain or use unnatural influence tokens. Beginning on their following turn, they will draw a horror tentacle from the tower as their turn. So our player over here has failed her investigation and is going to move into the next step. So let's go ahead and see if she goes insane. Oh, so she did have a red marble fall, so this is the fourth one in her location. So she is going to go insane. So we're going to flip her character card over to the insane side. And from this point on, she is focused on bringing Cthulhu to the realm.
Winning the game and endgame conditions are if the final location in the deck is successfully completed before the third doom marble drops, the investigator with the most discovery points from earned location cards and discovery marbles wins the game, and the world is saved. And the people rejoice.
Yay!
If the third doom marble falls as a result of an insane player drawing a horror tentacle from the tower, the insane player wins the game and is hailed as Doombringer at the world's end. Boo! Otherwise, no one wins, the world is consumed, and the insane players may cheer briefly as Cthulhu rises from...
So let's see what happens here. We have the final location, and most of our players have gone. It's coming down to our last insane player to pull the last tentacle and see if she can get those last 2 doom marbles, as there's only one out here. So, Amanda, why don't you go ahead and pull a tentacle, and we'll see if that insane player wins or not. Nope, we only had one fall out. So our investigators have won. So the player that has the highest amount here will take the token, and then we would simply just add up each of our locations' point values, and the player that has the most will be the overall winner on this game.